Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Austin. I am joined today by Sarah Kalnajs, the author of Am I Safe? The Art and Science of Canine Behavior Assessments. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to be chatting with you.
Hey,
How are you
Sarah.
doing this morning?
I'm good.
Afternoon. I guess it's afternoon,
Yeah,
depending on
well,
where you are.
midday.
So we want to know where you guys are tuning in from. If you are tuning in around the country or around the world, go ahead and leave us a comment. This is going to be an interactive conversation with Sarah. We want to hear your questions and your comments as well. So let us know where you're tuning in from and let us know where you are watching from. If you are watching on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, we are going live on Instagram for the first time ever. So we're very excited to have an extra platform going today. So let us know where you're tuning in from, and then we're going to jump right in and get started. Sarah, I want to ask you, how did this DVD, which is now also available at Dogwise as a streaming video on demand, how did it get started? How did it come to be? What was the first iteration of this? Was it an idea? Was like you saw a need for it? How did this come about?
That's a really good question. I haven't thought about that in a long time, but what happened was I got into dogs just a little bit at a time, right? So I started in the rescue world, and then I did some shelter work, and then I started to feel like I needed to know more about training, and then I started to feel like I needed to know more about everything. And so I was working in a lot of shelters and running a rescue, and I saw that there were behavior assessments out there, and I felt like that was important to have a behavior assessment. But my personal feeling was that it was a little bit too much pass fail, trying to fit every dog into a peg that I didn't necessarily feel like they fit into. And I've always felt like there are things that you can tell about dogs that are rescue dogs, right? You don't have any of their history typically, so you have to figure out the best you can. And I've always felt like there were things that you could tell, but not enough that you should be necessarily making life death decisions based on, you get an A through F or a 1 through 5 or anything like that. I felt like it needed to be more objective. And but that still, it could help us weed out sort of the truly dangerous, and those dogs do exist, the truly dangerous. And I do feel like the assessment process that I came up with is what I felt was fair to the dog, and that would show us the best traits of the dog and the worst traits of that individual dog, or potential of that individual dog. And so if I were to rename this product right now, I would call it Who Am I instead of Am I Safe? Because Am I Safe is one of the things that you can tell, but really more than that, more broadly, we're looking about who am I as a dog? And based on who I am, then what's the best home for me? Who's the best person for me? Where am I going to succeed? Do I need to be in a foster home? Which, by the way, I think every dog should foster, but I mean, I live in the real world. So, yeah, that's kind of, and I had lots of video because I always feel like one of the best ways to learn and to critique yourself is to humble yourself by watching yourself on video, which is just, it's incredibly humbling. I still to this day do it. I have Andrew video me filming or video me training or whatever, and I'm always like, oh, but I learn from it,
It's easy to be your own worst critic, but I'm so grateful for cell phones. Now we can video things so easily. I had 2 dogs meeting for the first time yesterday, personal dogs and a friend's dog, and was like, hey, are you okay if I video this? Because I'm getting some really great body language and I want to be able to watch it back and kind of see, was this dog a little bit over threshold? Were they a little over aroused? How did my dog respond? I just want to watch that back and freeze frame it. So
yeah. And everything when I started was photographs. I remember looking at Brenda Aloff's book, which I still love, by the way.
Yeah,
if you don't have that book, what is it called? Is it called Aggressive Dog?
Canine photographic body language. We should know this. It's on sale at
Dogwise. They have it at Dogwise.
Yeah, and it's on sale.
You need to have that book. You have to have it. It's so good. But I remember looking at that book and thinking, well, these are really good descriptions, and this is a good starting place, but I'm not sure if a few years ago at the time, I would have understood from the description of a submissive grin What
Mm-hmm.
was I
Yeah.
really seeing it? What was a whale eye exactly? What was a hard stare? What like, and so I had been videoing everything, dragging Andrew along, grabbing whoever I could and going film, 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 film. So I had like thousands of hours on video, and I just sat down one day and started editing it, more for myself than anything else. And then you guys came along and said, "Hey, we want that."
Yeah, which is great. That's what we want everybody to know, that we have got a lot of great products available that we want people to be able to know about. The name of the book that we were trying to think of and could not think of is Canine Body Language, A Photographic Guide. So it is on sale. It is only $20 right now at Dog
That
Wise.
is crazy good.
I
I
know.
love that book. There are some books that just you just it doesn't get any better. And I mean,
Yeah.
as far as a photographic canine body language book, that's the one.
Yeah. And I think also, the thing about the video that you took, that you had Andrew take, that you were working on, that you've, compiled years and years of video, photographs are great. There are some really incredible dog training books or dog books about body language. Lily Chin's Doggy Language, of course, is a classic. I don't know if you've ever gotten your hands on, there's an amazing book called Dogs in Translation. It's this huge, giant hardbound.
Oh, the hardcover, yes.
Yeah, in Europe. And gorgeous photography, and they really used like split-second photography and outlined a lot of things and highlighted and illustrated a lot of things, and it's an incredible book. But there is nothing like video. And
there's nothing like video. I mean, there are some great books out there that have pictures that are phenomenal, and I have them all. I keep them in my library, and sometimes I'll look up to see what someone else quantifies this thing as, and I feel like they both have their place, but body language changes like millisecond, nanosecond to nanosecond, and you need to see how it's changing in time and space and environmental context, right? So
Absolutely.
If I'm just looking at a picture of a dog, so if I take a step towards a dog and the dog goes, right, it closes their mouth, and then I back up and they open their mouth again, then that's information, and it's that change, it's the shift that I'm looking at, not just what is that.
Sure.
Somebody's gonna take a screenshot and there's gonna be me like, go ahead, that's fine.
I'll be sure to put that in the highlight reel, Sarah.
There. But no, it is. I mean, you can take, even with human behavior, it's the same thing. You take a still and you get some information, but
right,
you put it in motion. And that's, if you're working with dogs and you're working in a shelter or rescue, you need to be able to be so good at seeing that body language in context that you notice it out of the side of your peripheral vision, out of your peripheral vision while you're talking to a client, like you're knowing what's going on, so that it just becomes second nature. And the more of it you watch, the better you get, So what's really interesting is a lot of people are like, well, how beneficial is that still? Is our assessments beneficial still? Look, body language is body language, and communication is communication, and it hasn't changed. Now, some of the ways that I talk about things are definitely different, and I mean, I would be shocked in any profession if it's been 20 years. Has it been 20 years? I look so young.
You sure do. Aged well. Like you said, body language doesn't change.
But it's the same stuff, right? So what I called, I think I might have even, I can't even go, but what I might have called a dominance lean in Am I Safe? I would now call the product Who Am I? And it would be like just eye contact. It has nothing to do with dominant. Could a dog see that as me being offensive? And could you maybe use the word dominant for that? Yeah, but so there's the things that I call things in that video, many of those have changed. But the process is still the same. The pieces that I do are still the same. The things that I'm looking for are still the same. I just call some of them by different names.
I think that, again, we've learned a lot in the last 20 years, right? And still being able to have that video, which is it's so great. We're going to jump in and watch some video clips in just a second, but being able to look at that and analyze it and say, wow, now that I have done this thousands of times, here's what I would change. Or to your point, here's what I wouldn't change. I would keep it the same. This is working to give us enough of an accurate assessment of behavior to let us know, like you said, you say it in the DVD so well, like, it's not that you're going in being like, well, that's a bad dog, they got a tick mark, you're pass or fail. It's what is the best home for this dog? What is the best situation for this dog? And I think those of us who are in animal welfare, please jump in the comments if you are working in a shelter or a rescue, or if you're a foster. Like Sarah said, we need more foster homes. We need more people who are willing to volunteer and get a better accurate representation of what a dog looks like in a home environment and out of that stressful shelter situation. But if you're working in animal rescue, we applaud you and thank you for the work that you do. And this is such a great skill to have, something that you say. We shared this with our followers on social media this week. You talk about this and about how your powers and as an observer make you good at behavior, training, assessing, working with dogs in general. This quote really spoke to me when you said it. I paused the video and was like, what did she say? And rewound it and shared it again. And I think this just cannot be overstated, how important it is to be a good observer if you want to be successful working with dogs.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the keys in this industry. And whether it's training or behavior, or whether you're doing obedience or agility, or, just being able to see things that other people, and one of the things, as you get more experienced, you think, oh, come on, everybody sees that. They must see that. They don't see that. They don't see that. Yeah. I didn't see it when I was a baby trainer, right? And and what's funny, I mean, we both worked with dolphins, and I remember going to Dolphin Lab and them being, oh my God, you work with dogs? Oh, can you help us train our lab dog? And I was like, you're dolphin trainers, which to me was like, that you're dolphin trainers.
Right, you can
like,
do it, right?
You can't train the dog can't tell the difference between sit and down. And the dog had like some pain issues and some stiffness issues, and they weren't even looking for them. It just didn't cross their mind. There's so many things, I do commercial work with dogs. We don't get a ton of it in the Midwest, right? But we get some. And my OG soul dog, Gidget, she's in a Quick Trip commercial. And I can't bear to watch the commercial because she wasn't feeling well the 2 days of that shoot. And she did it great, and they loved the commercial. They were totally happy. But every time I see it, I see my dog not feeling well. Yeah. And I just asked a friend the other day, I was like, do you see that anything about, no, oh my God, so cute, such a cute dog. And I see like a stressed dog that doesn't feel well. So
it's interesting too, we all come at this from different backgrounds. And I know people who come into shelter work or even into behavior or dog training from a veterinary background, and all the time they're like, oh, I think I see, like they know what to look for. They've had that training, that we should all be trying to learn more and trying to grow more, but also be gentle with yourself if you don't see it right off the bat, because it's especially
and a lot of times you're seeing it and you know it's something, but you don't know
what it is,
it, or what it is exactly, or where it fits in. And so that for me is a big part of what the behavior assessment protocol is, I use it for shelter and rescue dogs still, but I also use it in forensic evaluations. So dog bite cases, I had to do it a few weeks ago with a couple of dogs, a couple of pit bulls that were going to be euthanized because it was thought that one of them killed another dog. But there was no proof of anything. And the dog wasn't even taken into the vet for like 30 hours. But anyway, as it turned out, these dogs had no aggression towards other dogs at all, neither one of them, among a variety of contexts, right? And so when you do an assessment and you're like, well, okay, wait, now supposedly one of these dogs did, lethal damage to another dog, but even under arousal, small dogs, big dogs, having resources, nothing triggered this dog into any sort of stress, either one of the dogs. So they're alive now. And
great.
I'm thrilled because I just, people are like, but can you be absolutely certain? Well, you can't be 100% certain of anything ever, But if something happened that created a situation where that dog hurt another dog, it must have been a trigger stack that was so unbelievably large and such an elephant, a white, what do they call it? Like it's a bizarre circumstance, such a strange set of circumstances that it like unlikely would ever happen again. So yeah, I think the assessment is a tool that can be used in a lot of ways.
Not just in shelters. And that's, again, thinking about how to apply this in various contexts is important. We've got a couple of comments coming in. Atlee Jensen says, shelter worker here. Thank you, Atlee, for your shelter work. We know how hard that is. Looking forward to learning how Sarah's thoughts about shelter assessments have changed and or stayed the same over the years. So we are going to jump into that now. Again, if you guys have questions for Sarah, please drop them in the comments and we will be going through them throughout today's presentation. So I pulled this slide from your presentation inside of the DVD when I was watching the streaming video actually on my phone. And in it, you say all dogs should be assessed, but understand that no procedure is 100% reliable, which is basically what you were just talking about a second ago. But it does give us information that is very valuable, right? Assessments are used to understand basic temperament and best possible placement. Can you speak a little bit to this, Sarah?
This is what I've always thought about assessment. So there's, a lot of people talking now about, well, science shows that, temperament assessments are not predictive. They're not shown to be statistically significant as far as predictive value. But the thing is that if the choice is between just you have a shelter full of dogs and you just go, yeah, oh, you think that one's cute? Okay, they're home with you, fine, go ahead. You're going to have so many bounce backs. And shelters that I go to, and I still do this with shelters, train the staff on how to do assessments where they haven't done assessments before every single time. And of course, this is observational, but it's over 30 years of doing this work. The returns to the shelter after we implement behavior assessments or who am I, right? Assessments go down drastically because we're putting the right sort of arousal level, activity level, excitement level of dog in the right home, which is going to prevent problems that may not show up during an assessment. So like a dog might have a propensity towards guarding that maybe doesn't show up in an assessment because they're low level and they're anxious and they don't really feel like any of the resources are theirs, right? Sometimes it shows up a lot, sometimes it doesn't show up. But if you see that that's a super high arousal dog and it's got all these other things that are all these other personality traits, usually that would tell me I don't want to put that dog in a home that has a child in it. If you're not doing anything at all, and then you put that dog in a home, you're not doing any sort of assessment, and then you go 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and the dog is then showing severe signs of resource guarding or aggression towards other animals or whatever the case may be. You could have seen signs of that potential for a problem and helped pick the right home and then helped the members of that home do a prevention protocol. So you could go, I'm not really seeing in the assessment a lot of resource guarding, so I don't see it as a significant problem, but there's a little bit there. The dog eats a little bit faster. So yeah, we're going to adopt this dog to you, but we want you to see a trainer, or we want you to read the new edition of Mine, which is really good, by the way. Or we want you to, whatever. We want you to do a preventive protocol on resource guarding with this dog so that it doesn't become an issue. And then they stay there. And to me, the biggest piece of the biggest thing that's out there that tells me that the assessment is a good thing and should continue to happen is that in every single place that I've done it, implemented it from where it didn't exist previously to that, returns of dogs have gone down, behavior issues happening in the home where there's a bite and the dog comes back go down. So, maybe the studies aren't being set up right. I don't know. But I think there definitely is some predictive value. It can't tell you 100%. It's giving you possibilities, right? So when you meet a person, if you meet a person just for 5 minutes, you can get an idea. Are they really outgoing? Are they really shy? Are they a little nervous? Are they, like, have they not been on camera for too long and they're freaking out, like really pale compared to Erica? I mean, you can tell from body language and,
Sure.
the eye position, you get a lot of information very quickly. And I didn't understand why we feel like we get a feel for what a person is like, but there's no way we could possibly get an accurate feel for what a dog is like. No, that's not true. We can, and we should.
We should. That brings up this question that we got on YouTube. I'm a shelter volunteer and former foster. What's the best way to improve body language observation skills? So glad you asked. Sarah's got an answer for you. Sarah, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your other DVD and how it relates to the Am I Safe DVD. And then we'll talk a little bit about a couple of those books that we shared earlier that are on sale at Dogwise right now as well.
Yeah. So Language of Dogs and Am I Safe were initially meant to be a set, but then we realized nobody would want to watch me for 5 hours straight, so we've cut them in half. But Language of Dogs is a visual encyclopedia of canine body language, and all of my clients still get it. Every client that I see gets it and needs to watch it. And so it is streaming now, and there's still DVDs. I don't have DVDs, but Dogwise has them, and they do have it streaming as well. And it is, I think, pretty much the only product out there that is a visual, like, encyclopedia of canine body language. And Erica and I, wink, 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 are going to be working on probably more in 2026 as far as body language. But I would highly recommend that. So the best ways to do it are to have something like that and watch it over and over and over again. But then go to your shelter, go to your local shelter, volunteer to walk dogs. My dog is sitting in a toy bin down here. I just realized he's in the room. That's crazy. Okay. And go to your local shelter and just, even while they're open, and just walk the runs and watch the dogs. Just watch them. And go to dog. I used to spend hours in dog parks. I would spend so long in dog parks that my dogs wanted to leave, and I would be like, no, we can't.
I go to dog parks without my dog, and I'm like videoing the dogs. Again, not the people, not sharing it anywhere, just going back and watching those videos again and again. And I think the thing is, like, you said something earlier, and this is such a crucial part of what we do as animal professionals and people who just live with dogs, even those of us who don't even work with dogs who might be tuning in. The context is so important. The interpretation of the body language is so important. And my experience, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that all of us who are students of canine body language are looking at what happens next. This happened, and then this happened. Not just cause and effects, but even just that correlation. So what's happening when, I saw a lip lick, I saw another lip lick, I saw a head turn away, and then there was a bite. I don't know. How many times do you hear that?
Yes, I did not ignore
it.
Go ahead. I still do seminars, right, all over the world on body language, and I am the kind of person who can't do the same seminar twice. Like, so I constantly always, it's not at all the same footage that you see in Language of Dogs. So Language of Dogs, it's a lot of shelter and rescue footage. But when I speak on it now, it's a conglomeration of that and dog park footage and client footage and all of that. And there's a situation in a dog park that I remember really well where this particular dog kept getting up. There's always that one picnic table in the middle of the dog park, and this one dog just kept getting on top of the picnic table and on top of the picnic table and on top of the picnic table. And so I'm sitting there watching it, and my husband is like walking around my dogs going like, can we go? And I'm like, no, seriously, I got to see what's going. I have to. What's going to happen? I just have to know, right? And so what I realized pretty quickly was that every time this particular other dog approached, this dog that I was watching would get up high on the picnic table. And then that dog would go away, and then this dog would get back down, and then that dog would come back up, and right. And so I was like, ooh, okay, I don't love what I'm seeing because that's height seeking. And so, or distance increasing, some desire for space or to get away. And then the owner of one of the dogs, I don't remember which, started adding excitement. And arousal and aggression are really closely tied behavioral states, which is why, like, to be honest, I don't even take my dogs to dog parks anymore. I haven't for a long time. I go film, but I use like sniff spots for my own dogs. I mean, I have a pack anyway, so I don't need a dog park because I've got like 6 at least at any given time. But what ended up happening is she was like, you know, there they go, 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 to like get them playing, but it didn't get them playing. It got them fighting. But if you were watching them from before that, there were signs that those two dogs were not loving each other. That was not a great interaction. And in a dog park, if the owners stick together, then the dogs stick together. So even if people go, oh, but it's this huge dog park, they've got all this room, they don't really, because they're going to stay where you are. And so they are stuck there, even if you don't have them on leash, unless you've got, you know, the great wanderer hound who just like goes off and
explores the wilderness on his own.
Like, I don't care. So
Dogwise has a book, and now it's actually available as an audio book called Visiting the Dog Park. And dog parks have come under a lot of scrutiny in the last couple of years, and for good reason. But one of my favorite things as a dog trainer, when I have a new client who says, you know, I really want to take my dog to the dog park, is talking to them about why do they want to do that? Is there another way to meet those social needs? But then also saying, okay, if you want to take your dog to the dog park, we're going together, you and me. Dog's staying at home the first time. We're going to talk about some body language. And then I'm going to show you when you get here, here's some safety tips you can do. Come in and immediately walk away from the gate.
Get away from the gate. I know.
But I used to live, there was a dog park near my house when I lived in California, and it had a free little library outside of the dog park. And I used to stick copies of Dogwise's Visiting the Dog Park and calming signals of Turtles in there, and be like, if just a couple of people happened to read these books while they were hanging out at the dog park, that would be better than nothing. Would be my.
I mean, that's a big thing. It's like, yeah, we right away we're like, oh, get away from the gate.
Walk, move, don't sit at the table.
Remember that you are there. If you're there at a dog park, you're there for your dogs. It's not for social hour. Go have coffee with your friends. Or I mean, I get it. We want to be social. I crave human interaction. Like, I'm always around dogs and rarely around people, which you can probably tell. But the thing is that it's for your dogs. And if you all get this little coffee clutch tight space, it's going to create problems. So, I mean, there are, you know, Roger Abrantes. Do you still have dog language there?
Oh, yes. In fact, it is on sale. I was going to share that as well. We've got some really good.
If you're watching this, can I just say, please support your local bookseller. And Dogwise is a small local bookseller, and it's super important. Get my stuff, don't get my stuff, but get something, because support Dogwise. They've been amazing.
Yeah. So Roger Abrantes' Dog Language and Encyclopedia of Canine Behavior is also on sale. Like I said, it's currently $12. So we have got there are so many great books that we've got for sale right now that are not just for sale, but are on sale at a great discount. We already talked about Brenda Aloff's classic book, which we all know and love very well. And being able to have these resources, these books, by the way, you guys, they're huge. They're big, giant, almost like a Bible.
That one is like 2 inches thick and like 12 inches by, it's big.
It is a really good one. And then there's one other one that's also on sale. If you go to the Dogwise website right now, you'll actually see on our homepage, we've got these all up where you can click and see the sale prices. But also, I love Barbara Handelman's Canine Behavior, the Photo Illustrated Handbook. It is in color. It's glossy pictures. It's really beautiful. And like I said, that one is also on sale. And then I want you guys to stay tuned to the end, because we are going to be doing a little promotion and offering a coupon code for people who tune in live to get a discount on Sarah's products as well.
Which my stuff is not on sale right now.
It's not on sale, but we're going to give you a special code.
We're going to give you guys, Now, I mean,
yeah.
I think the thing I like about all the different books that you have about body language, and I have them all, and I've looked through them all, is that what I like to see is what other people are noticing and photographing, and then there are things that I didn't think about, like in the original, right? Because I mean, it was 2003, 2005. I don't remember. I was baby.
Yeah.
And And so I don't think that I really talked about like body weight shifts and stuff. And so
Yeah.
I really recommend Language of Dogs because I feel like it shows a lot. And the thing I think most people don't realize about Am I Safe is that Am I Safe is really a continuation of Language of Dogs. So it takes the body language from Language of Dogs, adds more of it, and puts it into context a lot about resource guarding. So if you are someone who works with resource guarding, or you're in a shelter and you want to work with resource guarders, Am I Safe has more directly working with resource guarders video footage than I've seen anywhere else. And I mean, it just, I don't think that I've talked about it, that much. There's a lot of that in there, and it's really useful. But having the books and something that is visual, so you can sort of see what you're missing, what you're seeing, and then go out to live places and just watch a whole lot.
Yeah, we did get a response, and we've got a couple questions I want to get to, and I do want to share some video clips as well. Thank you for the idea of going to a dog park to observe. In addition to my shelter work, I've never had a dog that can go to the dog park, so I haven't spent much time at them. Good news, you don't have to take a dog. You can just go watch the dogs that are already there. Ingrid, who is tuning in, says there is a town in a country overseas, forgotten the name, that has raised money to install kiosks at its dog parks showing body language and tips, like informational kiosks for state or national parks. I like the idea. Me too, Ingrid. That is a fantastic idea.
Can you imagine like a big, like a billboard,
Yeah. Leslie said that she would totally watch you all 5 hours. So good. Go get all of the details, Leslie. There's such great information there. And like I said, we're going to jump into that in just a minute. We do have a couple of questions that came in. Cricket says, shelter behavior specialist here. 2 questions. 1, do you, Sarah, have a favorite way to further assess a dog's behavior in the shelter past the assessment in the case that the dog's behavior in the assessment wasn't definitive, i.e. assessing further separation or containment distress or invasive veterinary handling? And the second question is, do you feel there has been any shift in the overall population of dogs that are ending up in shelters and at risk in the last several years and a couple of decades? Really good.
We could do a whole seminar on this question. I love this question. Seriously. Whoever person, Cricket, Cricket, you need to have a seminar and cover those topics. Those are so good. Okay, so what's the first part?
First question is,
assessment. So I don't suggest doing the assessment right away. So when a dog comes in, you give them time, right? So these days I would say minimum of 3 days. Sometimes you can't do it till they're off stray hold, but you want to give them time to acclimate. You can't pull a dog out that's over threshold, that's stressed, that's not eating, and try and assess them. You get a null assessment. You're not seeing anything about their personality. It's like what happens when I see a stink bug, and I'm looking around. If I see one, you'll know it because I'll start screaming, online or not. I will. I literally go fight or flight when I see a stink bug. And so if you tried to figure out anything about me and you were seeing me the moment I saw a stink bug, you would not get any valuable information. So you would have to wait until I came down. Give me some wine. I don't drink. Give me something. Give me something to calm me down. Give me a massage. And so with dogs, we wait a period of time to assess them, and they've got to be eating. They've got to be able to respond to a simple known cue. And the really interesting thing is most shelter dogs, I think it's like 97% of shelter dogs, know 2 behaviors: sit and shake, which was so interesting to me. It blew my mind when I first learned that shake was the other one. That's what everybody does with their dogs. Right? Anyway, so you want them to be eating and responding to simple known cues. Now, let's say that you're doing an assessment and that dog shuts down in the middle of the assessment, or you think you might be seeing something that you're concerned about, but you're not sure, and you can give them more time. This is a lot of times where I say, oh my gosh, is there a foster? Especially if I'm concerned that there might be separation issues. So if there's like kennel nose rubbing or idiopathic behavior, so repetitive behavior, spinning, things like that. So reassessments are a thing. And if a dog is in a shelter for any significant period of time, they should be being reassessed because behavior is fluid. So it's not just that you can take one snapshot and you're done and that's it for the next 6 months. If the dog is there, I would say, a lot of shelters, I haven't worked with a lot of shelters that have long-term residents, but there are some that do, and that will keep dogs for 6 months, a year, longer. I would be assessing those dogs every 30 days, every month and a half, just to see how they're doing. And so you're getting that profile, but you want to initially, right? But personality can change and evolve, and dogs become more comfortable in a context. So as context changes, you want to reassess. So that was part of the question. What was the?
I do want to share, this was something that actually is a screen grab from, like, I paused the video when I was watching it on my phone.
She's
on
so
the
good
video,
at this.
where this is actually something I wanted to talk about. So it's a great thing where you're talking about, this is part of that quote, right? All dogs should be assessed. Not everything, no procedure is 100% reliable, but you even say, do not assess dogs until they've had a chance to acclimate to the environment. Some dogs will take longer than others. I think, and you say even here on this slide, retest the dogs after a period of time if they have still not been placed, because like you said, it's going to change. The context is going to change. Their ability to adapt is going to change, how they're feeling, their stress levels, all of those things are going to be different over a period of time. And when I first heard you speaking about this on the DVD, you say right here, do not assess dogs until they've had a chance to acclimate to the environment. Some will take longer than others. And I wanted to say, like, okay, but how do you know? Like, how do you know when it's time to do the assessment? And are you like getting a good read or not? So
Yeah.
what would you say
So,
about
so I look at how they use the space in the kennel, right? So, and are they eating? Are they eating is a big one that I tell all my clients to do, right? So, eating and response to a simple known cue, those are things that you can use whether you're your own dog, shelter dog, rescue dog, all the dogs, right? So, if you're in a space, like I'm training a border collie puppy right now, and we went to Home Depot, and somebody was doing a forklift, and she looked, and I went, oh, okay, sit. Yep, she sat, and I went to give her a treat, and she kind of mouthed it a little bit, and she was like, nah, and just dropped it. And I was like, okay, we're moving further away from this. Okay, so it's a good way of checking in and saying, hey, how you doing? And so when I'm walking down kennel runs, I'll have treats, or we'll put bags of treats on the run so that people walking past can just throw treats in, which is a great way to desensitize dogs to strangers and to reinforce not barking and things like that in kennels. So you can do that. But I want to see, like, are they curled up in a corner and shut down, right? If a dog is doing anything that I consider shut down behavior, they don't move much in their kennel. They move to the farthest spot away from anybody who tries to approach. They aren't eating well. They're having any sign of physical illness or discomfort. Those are dogs that I just don't assess until those things change. And if those things aren't changing, then those are the dogs that get pulled to go to foster very quickly. And I don't care if they're the cutest little purebred that you never get in your shelter, and but it would be great to have this dog. If the dog is not doing well there, you're not serving adopters or anybody else. So you need to get that dog out. And I know there aren't enough fosters, but there are certain dogs that just have to go somewhere, whether it's a rescue group or whatever. You need to get those dogs out, because some dogs just won't do well in a shelter setting, and you can't really assess them. And if you can't assess them, then you let the purebred rescue group or the mixed breed rescue group or the all breed rescue group know we haven't been able to assess this dog because they're over threshold in the shelter, and you need to do it. So then hopefully the rescue does that. The other thing is, have I seen a change in the population? I think was part of the question, and I'm seeing a huge change in the population here in Wisconsin. And I think this is true all over the Midwest, and probably you're East Coast, right? Are you getting all the dogs from the South?
It's interesting. I have worked in animal shelters all around the country. And when I worked in New Orleans, that was about as south as you could get. And there was a certain population of dogs that we just saw so many of. And then I worked in shelters in Memphis for a while, and in Georgia and Virginia. I'm in North Carolina now. I've been in California. I've been in Colorado seeing shelters. It's interesting. A lot of Paws New England is a great organization that brings dogs from the South up to the Northeast and
Yeah.
kind of this redistribution. It's so fascinating to me, the different breeds that I would see in shelters around the country. I remember when I moved to Virginia and like every dog was a hound dog.
Yeah.
I was
So that's the thing is that
people in California, but they're just dumped everywhere on,
yeah.
you know, in these small hunting towns. And so it's interesting to kind of see how the populations are different. But I have personally noticed a huge shift since when I started volunteering in as a volunteer and as a foster in 2010 to now. I mean, 15 years ago, the population of dogs in shelters was completely different from what I'm seeing now.
Yeah. And the thing is that you have to realize where your strengths are, because here we had like lots of pit bulls, and I love assessing pit bulls. I love pit bulls. I love them, and I love to assess them. And they have particular things, like when I'm doing a dog assessment. If I were to redo Am I Safe now, I would be talking more about the differences in breed, which brings up another book, which is Kim Brophy's book, Know Your Dog,
Meet Your Dog.
Meet Your Dog, See Your Dog. What is it?
Meet Your Dog. Meet Your Dog.
Meet Your Dog. Know him, meet him, see him. I mean, it brings back, and so Roger Bronte's book does that as well. They're bringing back ethology into all of this applied behavior analysis, right? And it's so important because ethology kind of got thrown out a little bit, and I studied under Roger Bronte's, and so ethology has always been important to me, and I didn't talk about it a lot in the assessment procedure initially, and now I would. If I'm doing a dog assessment with a pit bull, it's different than if I'm doing a dog assessment with a Chihuahua, right? It just is. It's different. Or a hound dog is going to be different. Chows are completely. There's some breeds that are they're just different. I don't think they read the dog handbook, and they're like, nah, I don't want to do that. I'm more cat, right? So there are dogs that are just different. They're just different. And the population has definitely changed. And I think that if there's a gap, like I noticed that I was having certain gaps in my knowledge of types of breeds. Like now there's like coonhounds and we're seeing like Jindo dogs and things that are coming up that we just didn't see those dogs at all. And they do have differences, and we have to pay attention to those differences, and we have to allow for those differences. So if a dog is bred, a Great Pyrenees is a guardian dog, right? If I've got a guardian dog in the shelter and I'm testing them, assessing them for resource guarding, well, I can expect to see a little bit of resource guarding that isn't an abnormal behavior. In fact, resource guarding isn't even really an abnormal behavior. It's a natural, normal behavior that dogs need to survive. It's just that in our homes, they don't need it, but it's still there. It's like somebody described it as just going. It's like their software got a little wonky wired. Oh, it's Jean Donaldson in the new edition of Mine. It's a great book, but she talks about how the wiring, the genetics hasn't necessarily caught up. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, we're seeing lots of differences. You do need to absolutely reassess. You need to make sure that you're staying up to date. I mean,
yeah,
I read every book that comes out. Every time DogWise releases something, I'm like, I need it. Give it to me. Because I mean, there's new stuff. There's new science. There's just so much new. It's something that I love about this career is that it's not stagnant. I can just learn how to do one thing, and I'm doing that one thing over and over again. So
no, it is. You're right. Always changing. I want to get to a couple of video clips. So I'm going to share some of these video clips. They do have audio. If you're watching and listening and you've got a dog with you, just know that there's some voiceover, but also some shelter dog barking. There's only one that's really pretty loud barking, and we'll give you a heads up on that. But I want to go ahead and share some of these videos. This is a video that we're going to start with is kind of your very first in-kennel assessment. So I'm going to share that. And then again, please, if you're watching and you've got questions, jump in and ask those questions in the comments. And let's see what we've got.
Being the one to do it. This is forward and then sideways. And see how the dog changes and he starts lip licking. Look at his nose, how it's got the kennel rub marks. So he's been stressed in there. I don't know what shelter this is at.
So we've got this. I'm going to play it without the audio, and you can kind of talk through and tell us a little bit about what's going on in this video. But you're talking about when you're first walking up to the shelter, part of the assessment in kennel is walking up. And I don't think you actually said in the video, you said that you might have called it dominance, but I don't think you called it that. I think you just you accurately just called it forward facing. You're coming right at the dog, over them, leaning over them. And then
I'm watching this and I'm going, ooh, so still learning from myself. I'm going, you don't need to be that, I mean, you're safe. Okay, so if you're learning and you're putting yourself that close, that's fine. When this is one of my favorite things to do with client dogs. I mean, I would do this in any context, but not this close, because there's not bars there typically, right. Okay? But for everybody, if you're meeting somebody's dog, don't be like, we're primates. So we're like, hi, Erica, nice to meet you. I'm looking directly at you. That's so rude. Look at my tooth display. I am so rude. And that's what's happening with the dog. And so you're seeing them like ears back, like, oh my God, what? And then as soon as you turn sideways or you get someone like the border collie that I'm working with now, she hates when people come right up to her. But if I can get them, if I say, could you just stay a few feet back and turn sideways and don't look directly at her? She beelines straight up to them, wiggle, 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 and wants to be touched. And so a lot of times people that don't know a lot about body language will come directly into a kennel like you're seeing in this video and go straight up to it and look at the dog and smile. And hi, how are you? And the dog is like either terrified or to the front of the kennel. Oh my God, that must be a bad dog. No, that's like if I'm walking down the bike path and I say hi to somebody and then they grab my ass, excuse me, I'm gonna be like, no, I said hello. I'm not the other thing, right?
Right.
So you're being very rude. And so it's really important that, we know these things and that we teach people these things. And this is one of my all-time favorite things to get people to change, to do an angular greeting to a dog, to do an offset 45-degree greeting to a dog, and to not make direct eye contact. And you can throw some lip licking and a yawn in, like Turid calming signals. I don't know exactly how those work. I don't pretend to know how they work, but I can tell you that if you do them, you get this response from a dog where the majority of the time they will come up and give you this lovely little appeasement, like on the side of the face. And it is that moment where you're like, yeah, it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
I think actually that's in this video clip here where you're actually doing some of that exaggerated lipping yourself, and the dog does come up and give you that little,
You said lipping.
Yeah, I'm going to play that with the sound on so everyone can watch it through one time, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more.
He's averting his eyes, but he may be looking at the camera, so it's a little bit hard to tell when you've got the camera. And then turn sideways, and then I'm doing goofy lip licking.
He keeps trying to go on there.
And there's that attempt at the submissive lick.
Yeah, so I think what's so great about this part of the assessment, like we were just talking about, is most people who are not dog professionals, especially people who are coming into a shelter to see a dog or meet a dog, at part of the public who's coming in to see a dog, they're going to do the forward facing, let me just lean over you and get in your face, right? So that's why this is part of the assessment. That's why he built this into the assessment, to kind of act more like, I think in the DVD you call it the goofy public.
Yeah. So there's two things. I want to see how the dog is going to react in the kennel to the things that are going to happen, right? And make sure that it's, because if you have a dog that's constantly going over threshold, rushing the front of the kennel and reacting, then we want to put like a blanket or something over them for a few days and get them to kind of reset. But I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. So I want to see how they're reacting in the kennel, how they're going to react when the public does that. And I also, these exact motions that I'm doing are something that's going to be done with the dog out of the kennel when we actually do the assessment. And so when I'm doing this sort of initial walkthrough, I'm wanting to see how, you know, what was their reaction like in the kennel, and how, I mean, I'm always careful, but like, you know, what is the potential for what I think this dog might do. And the more experience you have, the better that is. You know, you get to know that a dog who reacts like by averting their gaze right away through a kennel, or putting their head completely down, or lying down, or trying to give you licks, those are not the dogs that are suddenly going to lunge you when that gate is not there.
Right.
In fact, they're more likely to do it when it is there, because they feel safer, because they don't want to get hurt. They don't know who you are, right? So if they feel like they have to protect themselves or defend themselves, they're more likely to do it when there's that safety level there. And so it just gives you more information about that animal before you've got them out of the kennel. Because again, one of the things we're looking for, and it is an outlier, but we're looking for the really dangerous, like 0.01%, because there really aren't that many. And when I think back on it, like the number of assessments I've done and shelters that I've worked in, and the number of dogs that it was just like, no way. I mean, I could probably count them on just my two hands out of like thousands of assessments. You know, the dogs where you're like, no, nobody is going near this dog. We're not, except for me, and I'm just stupid. But that's just.
You know, I've got a video clip where you are working with it's called an iffy dog. So I was going to play a couple more of the shelter assessments, but I'm going to show this video instead. And then again, please, people who are watching, ask questions if you've got it. But let's watch this video clip.
To do this with the primary handler or the secondary handler feeding traits, and I'm keeping my hand there to protect myself. This dog would not stand up. Sometimes they'll just sit down and they're not going to stand up, and you just have to do it the best you can. And this dog was really, really fast and would detach, so we had to keep the feeding going. But even though we did that, there were times that she had had enough and went, I'm not pleased with what you're doing. She calmed down once, so, you know, and then what you'll do is you'll have them feed, and then and you'll say, stop feeding. Okay, feed again, because I'm going to another paw. Okay, stop feeding, and let me see what she does. See how she still turns her head. The food is not going to, it's just dog treats. It's not going to, you know, even if we were giving her pizza, if she really had an issue, she'd let you know it, and this is, she can do your general checkout. Okay, fine, hold my paw, but I got to see what's down here. And she was just licking me.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm watching that. I'm going, oh, wait, oh, okay, no, what, oh, ooh. Okay, so I don't know the context around the rest of this within Am I Safe, right? But what I can tell you, so you don't do every single dog the same way. You don't assess every dog the same way. And that's part of why I think it's called, like, Am I Safe? The art and science of behavior assessments. Because it is an art, okay? It's not this like this. So if you were to watch a video of me 2 weeks ago assessing those two dogs, I didn't hold their paws like that. I touched their paw, and I was done. On to the next one. Touch the paw, touch the nails. I'm not trying to hold their hands, right? And so that was really long. But then as the video, and I'm like, why am I holding for so long? That's weird. And why am I, okay, I get that I'm trying to protect myself, but I don't normally do that. And as I'm remembering that dog, I'm remembering that dog has already done some snapping and some warnings, right? And what I wanted to see and felt safe doing was that I wanted to see how much it would take that dog. I didn't want to drive them over threshold, but I had a feeling that dog could put up with more than people thought that dog could.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm remembering properly, that was a dog that I think the shelter wanted to euthanize, and I didn't want that dog to be euthanized. And I was like going, I'm taking this to the nth degree. I'm literally holding that dog's paw for an epically long time on each one. And the dog is, if anything, relaxing more into it. The other thing that I'm seeing happening, and I know that was a really old clip because it's a yellow leash. And that yellow leash was designed by Nina Bondarenko, and it was sections, like 2-foot sections of leash that you could put together. So you could decide how many sections you wanted, right? You couldn't change on the fly, but you would go, okay, for this dog, it's this many sections. And then Andrew eventually designed, so if you see a blue leash or a brown leash, those are more recent clips. And if you see me now, that's what you'd see. You'd see a brown leash that was designed specifically for behavior modification, assessments, all the things. It's redesigned and it'll be out again this year. But the thing is that if you play that back, if you're going to play that back, watch at the beginning, whoever's handling, and I'm not sure who that is, they've got, because that leash only came in segments and you couldn't just hook it on, because what you don't want to be doing is pulling. Do you see she's going to have her, I'm trying to point at the screen. She's going to have her hand on the leash. It started at the beginning. Like, I think she's holding on to the leash very close to the dog. So you see those little sections, and she's like kind of do you see her pulling right there? She's pulling the leash. Yeah. Don't do that. Can we add that on?
Don't add more tension in there. Who was it who had tuned in and said, what would you do differently, Sarah, if you could do it all again? Well, here we go. We're learning as we go on the fly. I can see what you're talking about the different like lengths of clips of that leash to kind of give you different lengths.
So that wasn't a great tool, but it was better than. So here's one of my big things about assessments is that the other assessments that were being done at the time were the dog either was just completely free in the room the whole time from the beginning, which you have to, if that's the case, you're modifying your behavior as a human. You're changing your behavior. You have to. I mean, it would just be self-preservation. So you're not acting normal. You're not going to go, hey, because if that dog decides to lunge, you're SOL, right? So there was that option. Then there was another assessment where they were like anchored to the wall. But if they're anchored to the wall, they're constantly cornered right? So they've got that point of connection and they're constantly cornered. So you're constantly coming up to them. And then, of course, their behavior is potentially going to change because of how you've got them anchored. And so what we wanted was a system where the secondary person is basically just there to be a pole that moves. That's it. So the leash is attached to them at the hips. They move around wherever the dog wants to move. They don't direct the dog. They don't pull the dog. They don't steer the dog. They just, and the dog in our assessments has never once or been reported to me, never once while I've been doing it, and it's never been reported to me that the dog has redirected any aggression at that secondary handler, because they're not a competitor. They're nothing. They're just a pole. They're not feeding the dog. They're not doing anything. They're just moving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so what I saw there was that secondary handler in being part of the process, and I don't want them to be part of the process. So if you're ever secondary, don't be part of the process, right? So yeah, if the dog lunges at the person who's primary, then you're there to do whatever you need to do. But until that happens, you are just neutral. That's it. You're neutral. That's your job. You're a second set of eyes to say, oh, did you see that freeze? Did you see that? Well, right. You can talk. You can put in your 2 cents, but I do not want you to be grabbing and pulling, and dogs have an opposition reflex. So, if you pull, you could actually get the dog to reflexively move towards my face, which.
Sure. Now, in the DVD, you talk a lot, especially at the beginning, about how the dogs may be responding to the camera presence. Do you now recommend videoing your assessments in shelters or even for clients? Do you video all your assessments that you do?
We use this. This is Insta360, but this comes out, this piece. So the camera is just this. and you have a necklace with a magnet on it. And so basically it's the camera's here.
That's great.
And so there's no, you can, if you don't, these are not expensive. You can buy them on the secondary market. They're not bad. A shelter budget should be able to get them, or get a donor to get them. It's very helpful to have. Or you can, take a, have a tripod with now with everybody's iPhones, have an iPhone set up. But the problem with that is that if you've just got one set up, it's so different. Like when I have someone like Andrew who's been working with me a long time, he knows what I want to see. So what I'm going to want to watch back. So there are times like when I'm hugging the dog in an assessment, I don't see the dog's eyes. Their head's here.
Right.
I'm here. Right. So I can feel what's happening in their body, but I want to see what happened in their face. What changed? Did their mouth open and close? What did they do with their eyes? Did they live? Like, what did they do? And so I look back at the video, and if the person is, in that assessment we just did a couple of weeks ago, Andrew was secondary, and a friend of mine who works for a rescue here was the videographer. And I just assumed she would know like what to film, and then we got a lot of footage of the dog's butt. Bless her soul. I mean, that was great to have. I mean, it was super helpful, but it was like, oh no, because I didn't teach her. Right. That was my failure, right? And and again, she didn't want to be moving around and being distracting and all of those things. So it is helpful. In that instance, we needed multiple video angles and we needed better. The thing about these kinds of cameras is that the video quality isn't that great. It can be, I think, but I'm not techie enough to make it.
I think that's a really good point too, especially for people who are tuning in. If you're going to video your assessments, think about, what do you need your videographer? That's a whole different role, unless you're just going to set up a camera and a tripod and have a stationary perspective.
That becomes a problem, because then you're constantly trying to move the dog to get them to the right angle, and you don't want to be doing that. You want them to move in the space where they want to move, and so that becomes hard. So if I had to do that, I'd probably set up like multiple cameras. Who's all got a phone?
Right. Yeah.
Set up 4 angles so that we've always got what we need, because there are times when, those videos, I just wouldn't do this without having a video of it, because there's so many moments that I want to look back at and see, and then when I'm going to reassess, I want to go, I don't go back and look. It's one thing we haven't talked about. I always go in cold. I look in the kennel first, but I don't get the background. So whatever we know about the dog, I'm not told that. And if you're the primary assessor, I suggest you aren't told that, because you carry all of your baggage with you. So if somebody says, this dog has bitten 26 times, well, likely they aren't being assessed if they've got a 26 bite history. You know what I mean? But if somebody says, well, this dog doesn't like eye contact, or doesn't like their paws touched, or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Then you're going to be like, oh, I got to be really careful with the paws. And the stranger, the adoptive home, their child isn't going to go, oh, yeah, I got to be careful with the paw. You don't want to know that. You just want to you want to do what you would normally do to get a real assessment. And that's the goal of Am I Safe, or Who Am I? is to really see, not just to have some check boxes that are maybe a cover your ass thing. I don't know. I didn't like the whole pass-failness of other programs. So
I actually have, so I know that we are jumping around and we're actually getting pretty close to time. But I have 2 things that I wanted to talk about. We're jumping around in the assessment process, where you talk about the hug. You mentioned this a few minutes ago. So this is part of the DVD from Am I Safe, where you talk about, you're going through how to basically do this test. So a primary handler approaching from the side. And I want to share a video with this, but this is something that I feel like I want you to be able to tell the audience why is it important to test something like hugging a dog? Like us canine professionals, when I saw it, I was like, oh no, don't hug the dog. Don't do it. They're going to be so uncomfortable, right? Like we know better than to hug a dog. But so why are you doing this in a behavior assessment then?
Because that's what they're going to do. And not just the home. You could say, well, we're going to make sure that all adopters are told not to hug a dog. They're probably going to do it anyway. Got news for you. But I mean, my landscaper, I love her. I hope you're not on here. I love you. My landscaper, I don't think she's on here. But she's like one of those dog crazy people. Like she loves dogs so much. And when she comes over here during the warmer months when landscaping, my dogs are like, oh shit. And they, because she picks them up and she's like, and they're going, Mom, help. And so even when we know and we try to get people not to hug our dogs, sometimes you just can't stop it. And people do it, and kids do it. Kids do it a lot. After I assessed those two dogs a couple weeks ago, the 9-year-old of the family came in. She came into the room. We were sitting and sort of having a post, conversation of how things had gone. And she came over to there were siblings. They were 6-year-old siblings, and they had very long nails because they didn't like nail trims. And so they're very long nails. They're big, lovely, like the big, wide, squishy, thick pitties. And she sits on one of them. She's 9. She stands on and and I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, he loves it. And I'm like, okay, so I understand you guys have a really great relationship and everything, but I'm a little bit worried because, he's 6 and his nails are a little long and that could kind of hurt. And he didn't even look stressed, by the way. He totally was like, whatever. But that's just the thing. I mean, she did it like right in front of me to show me like how good her dog was. And that's just the thing. It's like, we think when we've been fostering or sheltering or rescuing, whatever, working with dogs in whatever way, within a pretty short amount of time, you start to think, oh, people don't do that. Like people know not to push the dog's nose in their poop or pee. They know that. I don't need to say that to everybody. Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. Every time I think that, no, people know that. No, they don't. No, they don't. So they hug and they right in the face and they sit on their dogs and they oh my God. And, I wish we could have like a public service announcement that would like run all over the place through one of the big organizations. I'm always on because I'm certified, right? CCPDT. And I'm like, why can't you guys put billboards out that are like, don't hug your dog with like 3 pictures of miserable dogs, like people hugging their dogs.
People don't recognize it. They don't know, right? Like this is something that's so fascinating to me. And I want to know if people have seen this. I'm sure you have on social media, right? How many times have you been scrolling through social media and you see some cute viral dog video and you as a dog pro are just like, oh, like look away. I can't.
And he knows he's did something wrong. And
I think that obviously social media it's a double-edged sword, right? But I think that the more people know about body language, the more people can actually correctly interpret what the dog is feeling and we don't know, right? But like we talked about at the beginning, if you can see what happens after a lot of these stress signals is how we've labeled them, right? Or these calming signals, these cutoff signals, then what happens? Then how do we escalate? And my hope is that the more people who know, the better it gets for our dog's welfare overall. And I really do believe the more that we're sharing that on social media, the better the chance we have of reaching more people.
And the thing is, we have to stop getting so hooked up on what the word is, what the term is, cut off, distance increasing, calming, doesn't matter. They all pretty much mean the same thing. The only thing 2 dog trainers can agree on is that the third one is wrong. That's just totally true, always will be true. But, if we can I was going to say a really good source for like learning about dogs and body language is watching social media, because you see like all this stuff. Because hopefully, if you're watching a good dog trainer, like JW Dog Training on Instagram,
absolutely,
go follow that account. So good, JW Dog Training, Juliana DeWilliams, really good account. You won't see stress signals, or if you do, they're going to be really subtle because she's going to pick them up immediately. And so that's beneficial, because if you see anything, it's going to be subtle, and she's going to go, "Ooh, see that?" Right? Whereas another channel, you might be seeing big, huge signs of stress. And to me, anybody who's good with dogs, good at handling dogs, knows about dogs, isn't going to put their dog on a video showing, and even if they're maybe if they're talking about it and trying to teach, but if they're just working with a dog and you're seeing a dog that looks really miserable and unhappy, no. So sorry, tangent, but
I completely agree. I want to share these last two video clips before we run out of time. So just to kind of recap, this is part of the behavior assessment that you'll see in the DVD or the video on demand if you get the streaming version. We are jumping around. I just want to say, if anyone happens to be tuning in, just a minute ago when you were talking about, hey, stressed body language, I absolutely want to say, like, okay, you're going to see some stressed body language. And again, the point of seeing this stress body language is so that we can assess it and see, how is this dog going to do in the real world when they're in a home. So I'm going to play this video for our viewers.
Again, see how still he gets? Nothing is moving. He's just like, Okay, so I don't feel like I'm in danger. It's just you feel how your heart goes out for these. It's just like, oh. He just didn't move, but he didn't get stiff. He's just not moving. He's not stiff. He's just not moving. Here's our Hucky.
Pause there for a second?
I'm going to pull him in.
So that was a perfect example of, I'm in that position. I can feel what the dog is doing, but look at how much information is in the ears and the face, the eyes, the mouth, the whole body. Even I'm not looking towards his tail. I literally just have my chin over the back of his neck. And so I'm relying on the person who's taking the video to show me what's happening in the front, or tell me what's happening in the front, right, as it's happening. Because you can feel, but I could feel that he was, not loving it, but I can't see if there's a sudden shift. And that's...
Do you ask for feedback live from...
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you wait until you see the video, then you might have a lot of bites. So, I mean, if the person says, "Oh, there was a freeze," or I think there might have been a freeze, or, he's okay. If I was the secondary on this, I'd be like, his mouth is opening and closing, he's panting, he's got muscle ridges on his eyes and the sides of his mouth, so he's tense, his ears are flattened back. But he doesn't look hard. So right there is the moment where he looks the most like, that's a scientific thing. He looks, but his eyes stay soft, right? So if I'm the secondary, I would be, and there's some blinking, but not a lot. So if I'm the secondary, I'm watching for that to shift from soft to hard. And if that shifts, usually you develop a relationship with your secondary, and you'll say something like, just give me a code word. We always just said off. So if there was a moment that there was a sudden shift, the secondary would say off, and then I would just let go. And you see this in the actual Am I Safe, that we show you how to go. You come out of a hug and you kind of not push the dog, but you arm brace out of a hug.
Yes. Yeah, you talk about that. So again, anyone who's just happened to be tuning in for this one little 5-second clip, this is a part of
a safe way.
This is part of a much larger behavior assessment. It's, step 3F. So you're all the way in at this point. You're not in the kennel. You've done some of the other assessments. But Sarah, I really liked how you talked about, like, here is the safe way to do it so that you are protecting your face, so that, your other handler is helping you. And that is in the DVD. So definitely, people who are tuning in, watch the whole entire thing. We're just pulling some clips out to talk about them here. But I want to also show this clip of the husky. So I like that there's multiple examples here of different dogs that you're working with.
Underneath, over the top. See, he can't. Do you see how he can't get to me? He can't get to me. I'm in a protected position, and the person is on the other side. Okay, I'm gonna lift you up. I so love doing that as a primate. It's just like, oh, this is just so fun. And then I pushed him away because I knew that I think he must have stiffened a little. This is the dog that was so hard to handle. And
See that?
I'm like, okay, no.
Yeah. So don't push it, right? Don't go all the way through the entire behavior assessment if you feel it and you felt it without it. Or do you know if somebody said?
No, I felt it there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People say, well, are you sure you're going to feel it? You'll feel it. If they really shift, you'll feel it. But like Erica said, we're already at like 3F there. So I've already seen that dog can be touchy about handling. And there is a certain, and I think we talk about this in there, but you don't, if a dog completely goes over threshold at a certain point, you don't go, okay, well, let's just do the next thing now. If they start lunging and barking and there's the bulldog in there that launches at my throat, we don't go, oh, okay, well, let's just keep going now. That doesn't serve anybody, because if the animal has actually gone over a threshold to that point where fight or flight has kicked in completely, then you're not really getting any information in the assessment after that. You're getting information about what Sarah's like after she sees a stink bug.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that you're not really getting good information that can help you at that point. I do know that you talk about that in the DVD, because the next video clip that I'm going to share is the tail. So this is an assessment, and I really love how you explain it at the end. So I'm going to let you say it in your own words on the DVD when you're talking through teaching people how to do this part of the assessment.
Okay, so grab the tail and hold on. And they'll turn and they'll mouth you. But that didn't hurt. Wasn't teeth. So that's one thing that they do. They often do that. They'll mouth you. Or this is tap out. Please don't hold on to my tail, lady. I don't like that. Okay, I'll get back up now. There's height seeking. Grab the tail.
And you're still talking to the dog.
Yep, talking to the dog. And there again, I mean, mouthing me.
How did you know it was mouthing rather than a bite coming?
When they see, and they'll turn and check you out. They do this a lot. And they'll mouth you a lot. If they're going to bite you, usually you'll get a freeze, like the freeze you saw yesterday, and I held onto the tail and the dog froze, which may be again in this video here. He's really relaxed about it. I'll sit down, but go ahead. They all check it out. But if they'll turn kind of slowly. I mean, this is real time. There's not an intensity. If they get stiff, you can feel them get stiff. And the second I feel the dog get stiff, no matter what I'm doing, I let go and back up. Because that's the first thing they do. It's this dog. I'm holding on, and suddenly she does this thing, and she's like, looks relaxed, relaxed, relaxed. I'm watching her. Boom. I'm like, okay, I'll let go. That's fine. Okay, so I got to freeze. Sometimes you get stiffness. Sometimes you'll get a low growl. Okay, I'll let go. No problem. But a lot of times you get this, I'm going to mouth you. And the only thing I can say to you is that when you do it, you'll see there's not an intensity to it. If you are in doubt, let go. Don't go, well, she said hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on, I've got blood all up and down my arm, but keep holding on, because he might just be mouthy.
I really liked that. I wanted to include that clip in here. There's out of context if you happen to tune in and see some lady holding on to a dog's tail and what's going on. And again, how many kids are going to walk up and grab a dog by the tail? We can do all the education in the world that we want, and I hope that we do, explaining to people, don't grab a dog by the tail. Don't hug a dog like that. They don't like it. Don't grab their face and get in their teeth. But we know the general public is going to do it, And so how do we predict as best we can how that dog's going to respond in that situation?
But you could feel that dog in that video, that moment.
Oh my gosh.
Like you can feel it in the video. If you can feel it when you're watching it on video, believe me, you can feel it times 100 when you're in that room. And the thing of it is I'm always amazed when I watch this stuff back at how forgiving you guys. We take it so for granted that these dogs could really hurt us. The little ones, the medium, the big, they don't want to. They put up with so much crap from us. We do so much. We control them. We decide when they're going to do this, that, the other thing. We touch them in ways they don't want to be touched. We do all kinds of stuff. And they really, like I'm grabbing onto their tail, I'm grabbing their paw.
Holding on.
And one of the things that there were some criticisms early on because I use treats during my assessment, right? So between each step, we kind of stop, let the dog kind of shake it off, and give them a couple treats, ask for some sits. So I check in. Are you still with me? And it's kind of like I'm sorry. Here's a piece of cheese. That was really rude of me, but accept the cheese, please. So I can see, are they still eating? Are they still responding to cues? But also give them a moment to just like, ooh, that was rude, but I'll just shake it off. And when I think of all the dogs that I've assessed, when the woman asked the question, how do you know if they're going to bite you or whether they're just going to mouth you? They really don't. They don't. I have never, I have to think about this. I've never actually been bitten in an assessment ever. The only time that came close was in the video. Boy, the light is just, I don't know where to go to get away from the light. I was doing a training, and so I wasn't even actually doing an assessment. I was doing a training, and so this bulldog launches for my throat, and he was on the safety leash. But I didn't at the moment. I didn't know how close. I mean, the dog was like millimeters away from. I mean, he really did intend to do harm, but that's the only time that I can remember. And there were a lot of caveats that I could throw in there about that. They knew that was a dangerous dog. It wasn't a dog they were ever going to assess. They threw it in there as a ringer to see whether the assessment would show that the dog was aggressive, and it did.
Surprise! It's interesting watching this video back with you just now. You're talking, I took the volume off of this, but you're like, this is the dog I think that goes stiff. And I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to be able to see it when I'm like not really paying attention and like prepped for it. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing, right? That's one of the people who were asking, like, how do you get good at dog body language? Watch this stuff, but also trust your instincts. When you have that little like, ooh, I think I might be pushing too far. Go ahead and let go. Go ahead and back up. Like Sarah said, the goal is not to push these dogs so far over their threshold that they do something dangerous or harmful. It's to say, where is your limit? And I appreciate that you talk about that in the video and in that DVD.
And the thing that I'm thinking about now too is, that with Language of Dogs is like the encyclopedia. So it's like the books that you showed, in that it shows a whole bunch of dogs yawning or lip licking or doing different types of tooth displays. But the benefit of Am I Safe is that you're seeing the body language pieces in context. So watch this dog freeze from when I approach the dog and grab the dog's tail and all of that, as opposed to like in Language of Dogs, you would just see that freeze moment. So Language of Dogs is teaching you how this is what a freeze looks like. This is what a submissive grin looks like. This is what, when we say, that they're yawning out of context, that's what that looks like. This is a tap out, whatever. But then in Am I Safe, you're really seeing how those play out in the context of more behavior and how they occur in clusters, right? So you don't just get one little piece of something. You're going to get multiple signals around that, and usually they'll escalate. Not every dog watched Language of Dogs, so sometimes they didn't, get the memo, but they usually
skip up the ladder.
Well. Yeah.
So you had mentioned to me that these two videos originally went together. It was one big, long seminar, and then it was cut in half. So there are two videos. There is Language of Dogs, and then, of course, there is Am I Safe? So this is over 5 hours of content. I just pulled out 10. I think I pulled out 10 clips to share with folks that are tuning in. And I think we only watched 4 of them, maybe 5. So there's hours and hours of content for you all to consume and get this voiceover of Sarah talking about how to do these assessments and how to be able to do this safely. And then again, grow your skills and learn to see not just what is the body language and you can recognize it and put a label like, oh, yep, there was a whale eye, there was a tongue flick, but also in the context. And like you said, seeing those clusters. So for people who
Because
are watching,
even if you're not, you have no need for doing an assessment on a dog. The benefit of being able to see all of those different stress signals and distance increasing signals and distance decreasing signals in context is still worth it, which is why I kind of did it all in one big seminar initially. But if you ever have questions about any of that, I mean, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I don't check Facebook all that often, but Instagram, if you DM me, I will absolutely get back to you. And I'm happy to have phone calls and whatever else. Human contact. I crave human contact.
it's good for us. I want to go ahead and share with everyone that, like I said, you watch till the end. So we do have a coupon code here. This is going to be good for both DVDs. You'll be able to get 20% off of both DVDs. And as we talked about before, we do offer a streaming video option. So it's all at dogwise.com. You'll be able to see both Am I Safe and The Language of Dogs. And if, like Sarah said, if you have questions, we love lifelong learners. So please feel free to reach out either on social media or via email, because we want people to know more. So I want to just thank everyone for tuning in. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll do this again soon. Thank you so much, everyone.